Hey guys, in this video I'm showing you how I did braids going into a curly ponytail. I started off on wash blow dried hair and I'm using the middle part. As you can see, I'm doing a middle part to create the center braids in the middle. And then I do have a video on how I pre-parted each part where I cornrowed her natural hair. These two braids will not change. You could do 4 braids, but I'm only doing 2 because the ponytail is going to be curly. It's not like I'm going to be leaving the braids out. So yeah, I'm just braiding these 2 down. You guys can head over later after watching this tutorial and see how I did the foundation. But here is it pre-parted. Now I'm starting off the braids. I am using stitch rings as a way to assist me with the stitching as far as making a stitch braid. If you are not good at stitch braiding, you do not have to use these rings. But if you want to learn, this is the perfect video. I start off braiding like with 3 pillars. As you guys know, I braid it like twice. Then I start to stitch in from the left and then stitch in from the right. And I grab hair and then I braid a little bit and then I stitch in again. You do want to use a lot of product. I do want to say that off camera, I did mold this part with braiding gel. Everything that I'm going to be using will be in the description bar below. But yes, I started off with molding each side with braiding gel, and that is what makes it easy to stitch and slice through her hair. Her hair is thick, so it can be a little bit more difficult to do stitching on thick hair, but it's not really as difficult as long as you are being somewhat heavy with product. I know a lot of girls are like, I don't like to use a lot of braiding gel. It could clog my pores and etc. But to be honest, stitch braids are all about product. So you have to come with a heavy, generous amount on each section to really get that stitch look. And I just go in left and right and I just braid all the way down. To be honest, when you're doing stitch braids, it's really easy to help you stay in the center of the part because you are grabbing from left to right into the center. So that's one thing I can say about stitch braids. Some people naturally stitch and braid, which I do too, not as much when the part is this large. So usually I can naturally stitch if the braids were smaller and I just naturally stitch. I wouldn't even use the braiding rings as a guide. But when you are parting like thick widths of for a cornrow like this, I would advise you to use a stitch assistant tool ring like this. And you see, I always start off with 3 pillars, do a couple turns of braiding, and then I start to add in the hair. I do not feed in any extensions at all when it comes to her cornrows. I want to make that very clear. If your client has more of a finer type of hair and you want the braids to be a little bit more meaty, I would suggest adding in very small pieces of braiding hair. But if you are okay with her braids being natural size like I am with her, because again, she does have thick hair, so her braid ends up being thicker the closer I get to the center of her head. I would not advise you to use any braiding hair. If your client have like a thick, medium type of volume or density in their hair. Again, if their hair is very thin and you are trying to, or fine, and you're trying to create braids that are more long lasting and just more structure as far as density of the braid, again, add very small pieces, build the braid to the size that you want, and then I wouldn't add as much, and I would get like a shorter length, like more like a 42-inch extension to do that, because again, her ponytail will be a sewn down curly ponytail that I will be showing you guys a lot later. If you are finding value in this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, thumbs up this video, and hit that notification bell so you know when I'm posting. I try to post weekly of just clips of braiding of more detail for you guys to see, and just full tutorials as well for male, female, and kids, and natural hairstyles. So if you are interested in any of those, make sure you hit that notification bell and you are subscribed to this channel. And yeah, here I am just braiding all of her braids down. Um, if you want to do smaller parts as far as like wavy parts, you can also do that as well. But I find it to be that this size for wavy parts really helps with show the design of how the braids will be. Again, you don't have to do wavy parts to create a braided ponytail with curly, a braided up ponytail with a curly um extension ponytail. You can do any design that you want to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be wavy parts, but that is what I am demonstrating right here. If you want to see a video of maybe like some smaller feed-in braids with the curly ponytail and see how to do that, just let me know and comment below if you would like to see that. But again, you can do whatever design you desire for this entire ponytail and then do the same method that I'm going to be using as far as like how I add in the curly hair and do the braid down of the braids and all that. You can start from there and just watch from there as well. But yeah, I just want to show you guys. And if you notice when it comes to these wavy parts, if how I parted it is, if it starts off small, like from, I would say, a certain part of the part, you want to go large, then big, then large, then big. I kind of do a pattern that I more explain in the video of me pre-parting. But you see, I am just complementing the other braid as far as size. And it wasn't difficult to create the wavy parts, but I just think it looks so cool. I did it on my son doing some straight backs. So if you want to see wavy parts going to some straight backs, just head on over there to that video once you're done watching this, and you can see how I created that hairstyle. But the wavy parts is pretty much like if one part is wider at certain parts of it, then you go in smaller. So if, for instance, this part, it started off small and now you see like the width is getting wider, and then it's going to go back. The further I get more into her ponytail, it's going to get small again as far as like the part. So I hope that makes sense. And I do want to say that you want to make sure you got a strong neck when you're getting ponytail in general, a braided ponytail. Because you are going to be holding your head in positions that may not be as comfortable. I do want to say that you definitely want to be able to bend over in a way so that way it doesn't hurt as much. I do use my body to kind of keep her in place and so she isn't like moving off, so the braids can be nice and structured. But if you are having a hard time like holding your head down for a long period of time, this would not be the hairstyle for you. And I'm not saying it's because I'm stitching it, just in general. When you are getting a braided ponytail, you have to be prepared for holding your head forward and looking basically down at the ground, and being able to hold your neck up, because that is the type of hairstyle that this is. I started off doing her back section first because I understand that it can be a little bit of a challenge when getting your hair done. But I also tried to go left to right. So you guys probably seen me at one part start off in the middle, and then I went to the left of her and did that braid. Then I went back on the other side to kind of get her neck like some time to like move around and not really like be in a crook, like have her neck muscles being super duper tight. Also, after every braid, I also let her move her head around for the most part. Or like if I wasn't completely ready to start the next braid in the back, I would say you can hold your head up and just keep your head up until I'm ready and I'm about to begin the next braid. But this is another reason why I pre-parted, because if I would have been braiding, then parting, then braiding, then parting, it would have felt like a lot of tension just in one spot. So that is another reason why I pre-parted before I actually braided, because I would mold her hair with the gel with her head sitting up. And if you want to see a live video of me doing this hairstyle, you can just head on over to the live section of this of the category on my channel, and you will see me doing this hairstyle live, and you will see that in between each braid she was holding her head a certain way. Like I wasn't making her stay in one spot. But the reason, again, why I pre-parted is so that I could just put the braiding gel on, mold it while her head is sitting up, and then when it was time to braid it, as far as the back section, I would make her hold her head down, and then I would just braid, and then be done. Stitch braids do take a while, and it all depends on your braider or you as the braider. It can take a while. I do know that I have this in a fast motion, so it gives the impression that stitch braid goes very fast, and that's the complete opposite. Looks, it's definitely not giving what you guys are seeing. It definitely took a little minute to do these stitches, but the more you get into the groove, if you are learning how to stitch, the faster you do get. So as you guys can see, I'm moving pretty swiftly, even though I do have this sped up. But again, a lot of foundation work happens with this. Like, I molded the hair down, and you can kind of see from side to side that I molded it down. You do see me pulling against like the braid as I braid. I will be showing you me pulling against the braid while I'm braiding, because it can be really tight, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't tight. So you see right here, I'm using a rat tail. I slide it in, and I kind of like loosely pull the opposite way of where I'm braiding to make sure that it's not too tight around her perimeter. When you are doing any braids, you want to make sure that your braids are not tight but firm. It is a difference, because when it's tight, it will cause little bitty bumps, and those bumps are indication that your hair follicle is about to be pulled out, and it will itch. And then before you know it, you scratch it sometimes out of place. So I like to always be mindful of my clients' edges and just hair health in general. I don't like to pull it too tight, just firm and neat. But the braiding gel definitely helps with, not making it super tight as well. So that's why I want to keep saying that the foundation and you molding down the actual section really matters when doing any type of stitch or any type of braid. So yeah. But I am just braiding, and I'm almost done. I believe I'm on the last braid of the stitch braid, and then I'm going to move into how I added in the curly ponytail and why I did certain things this certain way. So I do want to say that I am sewing her ponytail down, and you might be thinking, well, you're not using human hair. I'm not, but it's because I don't really trust glue. I am using this Camille Rose to first go over her entire part and scalp to really make sure that I'm locking in moisture. I also take down a ponytail and do the middle part, because as you guys know, wearing a ponytail, sometimes that middle part gets to itching, and we're not going to be touching the middle part of his ponytail for a very long time. I do add extensions onto this part. I use about, I would say, half of a pencil. As far as like, if you was to split a pencil down in half, I use 3 pillars of that amount of hair. If you were to split a pencil, that is how small these extensions that I'm adding in. And I just braid all of the braids together and feed in the braiding hair. And I do that because I want to braid off of her natural hair, and I don't want her hair to be coming out of this ponytail. And I just braid it all the way down. I am using short pieces of hair. Once I get to a part where I'm like, oh, I can fold it, I am then going to fold like you see, and I'm going to crochet in the tail end like you see here of essentially that's all braiding hair because it's super skinny. And I am just basically just crocheting that all the way through. And that is pretty much what I am doing. And or not latch hooking. I would say latch hooking because people are like, crochet. Sometimes they don't understand, but I am using a latch hook to basically crochet in the tail end of the braid, and that is what I'm going off of. I did prep needle and thread to the side, and I'm going through her braid and through the width. So you're going to see me kind of, I don't want to say struggle, but kind of, tussle with this hair. I do not double with the ponytail at all. You can if you want to. It depends on the thickness that you want, but I'm starting at the tip of this braid, and I am just really securing in and doing the knots, but I am going through the width, and then as I go up, I am going to be going under. But the first end, which is the very end of where I'm starting of the extension here, and I am using organic weave, I am going through the width because that is the foundation before I start going up, and that will really secure and make sure this ponytail is going nowhere. And if you are wondering why, and I do it at least 3 or 4 times of just securing, and then the last time I go under the width. If you want to see another video of me doing it super close and in slow motion, let me know. But I also throw the needle and thread up before I wrap around, and then I go under. I go around it twice with the extension. I go under the width and I just pull, and I do like a little slip knot as I pull through to really secure and anchor in. And the reason why I'm sewing it down, because again, I don't trust glue, and two, she does a lot of active sports, and I didn't want to have to worry about her having tumbleweave at any point. But you see, I pinned the, you can see I just pinned it upward, and then I go and I take it and I go under, and I don't go around the whole thing. I pretty much stay in the center of her braid when I go under, and then I go over depending on how I feel. And you want to make sure you're being very tight with the weave, like with the track. You want to make sure the track is tightly turned or twisted around her braid, so that way it's not bulking up and that it is nice and secure. Then I throw the needle and thread upward, and then I wrap around like you see I'm doing here, and I'm doing it twice, making sure, and then I go under the width, and then I just go through her braid, her natural hair, and I just go through and I tighten it and make a little slip knot, and I tighten it. If you want a more faster pace and you want to use glue, I would suggest you getting the wrapping strips and wrapping it around this braid that I have here, and you wrap it around and really make sure it's secure, and then you just use hair glue and you just glue it around that. But you want to make sure you protect your ponytail with the wrapping strips before you glue anything down. But again, I don't trust glue, but to an extent, but at the same time, like I said, she's very active. So to really make sure, she doesn't have any slippage, sewing it down was the best option. But I do know how to do the track. And I'm not saying that I've had bad experiences with like using glue, doing it on a client, because my clients have never had glue in their hair. But as a person that has received a ponytail with glue, I definitely had glue in my head. So I was like, I'm not doing that to this client, aka my daughter. And yeah, and if you want to see how I take it out, which I think I will do a video on how I remove these extensions from her ponytail, so you guys can really see how safe and secure her hair is doing it this way. Be on the lookout for that. But you see I wrap it around twice, and I'm wrapping upward. I do want to say I'm wrapping upward because I'm not wrapping in a still place. You don't want to run out of your bundle too soon, So I do a nice little stretch upward, and then I go underneath those widths and I sew it down. It's really up to you when it comes to the amount of bundles that you use. You can use 2. I am only using 1, and I feel like her ponytail came out very nice and full, and mainly because her curl pattern is more of a water wave curl pattern. And again, everything that I will be using will be in the description box below. I will be linking it into my Amazon storefront, so you guys can just purchase this hair and have it mailed right to your house. And you can purchase all the supplies in itself. You can have it come right to your home, and you can achieve this hairstyle super quickly without having to drive around store to store to find the certain curl pattern or hair supply you would like to use. But yeah, and I am just sewing it down. My needle and thread is getting a little bit short, but as you can see, I'm going up her ponytail pretty quickly. And another way you could do this as well is, you guys see how I braided her hair down and then I tucked it. You can also use the feather crochet. If you want to see a video of me using feather crochet to also build up a ponytail, let me know, okay? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, but you guys can see that I'm going upward with the bundle, and it's not tangling as much and this and that, because I had a long piece of string, a thread, and at first it was giving me a little bit of a hard time and I had to get it together. But you guys can pretty much see that I'm going upward with the track, then I go under with the needle and thread, and I just pull through, create a little slip knot, pull through. And I'm doing a slip knot you would do if you were doing some type of sew-in of sort, so that way it won't come out. And then right before I end up having to tie on another needle and thread, which I might have already did already, I take that needle and I go through the widths when I'm having to like add more like needle and thread, because I want to make sure that that thread does not come through and come down. And I think that is what I am about to do right now. And I know you guys like think I'm doing a voiceover, guys. So yeah, I'm watching just like you are to really make sure. But yeah, I am getting very short as far as like the needle and thread. So yes, this is the section where I am tying off my thread and about to cut it. And I'm really making sure I really secure this needle and thread, and then I'm going to cut it and create another knot. But I'm really over here securing the bag, if you will. I'm securing it. I'm about to cut it. Now I'm about to create a knot, and then I'm going to add on another needle and thread that I have prepared to the side to make sure everything is going smoothly. You want to make sure that everything you're using is all prepped to the side, because that really helps with time crunch. Now you see me adding in the new piece of thread, and I pretty much just go under and then continue. And I go one time, I believe, through the actual width with this needle and thread, and I did make it pretty long, but you can see I'm creating the knot. I'm going through to secure it, and then I'm going to continue to wrap upward with the rest of my bundles. Well, the rest of this bundle. And yeah, you want to make sure you throw the needle and thread always upward before you wrap the braiding hair. So you're going to see me place this needle up onto her braid, and then you're going to see me wrap one, and then the second time, and then you're going to see me grab for the needle and thread and go under those both, create a slip knot, and then I'm going to pull and really make it secure. And then I'm going to also throw it up again. You see, sometimes getting in the habit, I'm like, dang, I didn't throw it upward yet. So I have to go back, unravel it, and then I have to pin it upward, because even me doing it. Throw the needle and thread upward, then wrap twice, then really secure it. Once you get to the end of the bundle, you're going to do the same thing you did when you started it. You're going to go through that width. And then I went through the ponytail holder as well, that is holding her ponytail together. So you're going to go through the actual width with your needle and thread and go under it a couple of times, create slip knots a couple of times, and even go through the ponytail holder to really make sure it's secure. And then you're going to tie it off, and you're going to tie it off each time, because you just want to really make sure that this is nice and secure and that it's not going anywhere. Because when I tell you, my daughter, she be taking herself through there, okay? Like, she's very wild child, and she's not going to tie her hair up like she should, and she's going to play gym, and, you know, the ball may hit her head. So we want to make sure this ponytail is nice and secure. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so that's what I am doing. I'm just securing it. And then you're going to see me then do the oil sheen and everything. I do want to say that I did do a braid as a base to cover up the track that is on my live for you guys to see. And I also will have a clip of it on my channel as well on how I secured it. But you guys are going to see that how I wanted to originally secure it was just not the way. I had to pivot. I'm not even going to hold you guys. I had to pivot a lot, a lot. So I do want to make that very clear. But once I pivoted, man, because I did not make the ponytail super tight at her base with the ponytail holder like I should have. But that's okay, because when I added the braid to go and wrap around to cover up the weft and to secure it, I made sure I anchored it in nice and tight. But you will have to catch that on my live. But I did want to show you guys how I secured the final last part of the track, which I thought I did a great job with the camera view. Again, if you guys want to see that again in the slower motion, just let me know in the comments below. And I'm creating the little knots, and then I'm going to cut and wrap it around and cut. So I like to wrap it around before I completely cut and create a nice tight knot. But yeah, this hairstyle turned out super cute, and you see right here, I'm about to cut. And yeah, now I'm going over it with some Iso Plus oil sheen to really make sure it is shining. And then I'm doing her edges. You guys want to make sure that you rinse out that edge control every day. And I'm stressing this because so many girls are losing their edges. For nighttime wear, you want to make sure you wear a silk scarf wrapped around, not a bonnet. And for showering or bathing, you want to wear a shower cap every time. But yes, here is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoy. And here's some other tutorials for you guys to enjoy as well. See you on the next one. Peace and grease. Bye.